Hello, this is Mike Griffin with Griffin Brothers Companies and Greenway Waste Solutions. I'd like to give you a 15-minute executive summary of an 8-year process we've been through in York County. And so after this, you'll see several slides and many audio video. Plus, there's 5 other videos that supplement this executive summary. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you're able to listen to all 6 of the videos that are forthcoming. Thank you. I'm going to go rather quickly during this executive summary, being that we've got a lot of slides and a lot of content to do in less than 15 minutes. So just to start out, we've been working on this project for more than 8 years. We've been trying to put this site on Vernsdale Road to satisfy a portion of the needs of Rock Hill and York County. Our efforts have gone through 3 distinct phases, and I broke it down that way in this executive summary as well as supporting videos. In 2003 to 5, our introduction to York County staff that led to meetings to Rock Hill staff that resulted in our rezoning approval in May 2005. Late 2005, all throughout 2006, special industry competitors, under the disguise of concerned citizens of Rock Hill, fabricated many false accusations and rumors, which delayed the DHEC permit process for more than a year. And then 2007 to present, that's where Christy Cox and York County Councilman Kerwood Chappell have continued the fight by getting a newly elected county council involved without knowing the facts. So there's the 3 phases. And let's start. Well, before we start, let me better explain a word that I often use: construction and demolition reclamation, or C&D reclamation. By definition, that comprises the recycling, reprocessing, and landfilling of various building materials from new construction or demolition projects. This term was frequently used throughout our process, and then this was used against us because the claim was that we never used the word landfill. A lot of writing had limited or no use of the word landfill, but it was well known that this project had a landfill component to it. And just looking at the history of our business, we've been in business for almost a decade in the waste, and of course over 50 years as far as our overall family business. When we first started in the late 80s, North Mecklenburg Landfill was our name. That's all we did was landfill. As the 90s progressed, we started doing more recycling and reprocessing because the materials that came in had a value to them if they were reprocessed, and we changed our name to C&D Reclamation Center. In this case, North Mecklenburg C&D Reclamation Center. Now, over the decades here, we've expanded. We now have 5 facilities in the Carolinas, and we use the Griffin Brothers brand, or Griffin Brothers C&D Reclamation. But recently, we have switched that to Greenway Waste Solutions of North Meck. You'll still see a Griffin Brothers company notice in our logo, but this just shows the progression of our industry and the progression of our business. We do a lot more reprocessing and recycling than we've ever done. I could go on about that, but we got to really get into this project here. We started this back in November 2003 with a meeting with York County staff, David Harmon and Diane Simpson, to confirm there was a need for our type facility. A lot of people forget that. We started with the county first. And we were told, too, the county commissioned a report by Joyce Engineering that confirmed there was a need, and also they came up with a plan to create a quadrant system, and they were actively seeking landfills in all 4 quadrants, and only 2 of the 4 had landfills. Vernsdale was referenced in a lot of these original drafts, and it was referenced in the solid waste management plan for the first couple of readings of it. That abruptly changed in 2007, and we'll get into that later. The county basically suggested we look for a suitable site in one of the quadrants, which was the southern portion of Rock Hill, and they were very kind to introduce us to the Public Works Manager, Nick Stegall. City staff confirmed there was a need, and also they had a need to help them with the yard waste processing that they did. Our environmental and compliance manager, Ron Gilkerson, hit the ground running, found the site, Vernsdale, and he did a lot of preliminary due diligence to show that that should be a good site. County officials were kept in the loop through this whole process through multiple correspondence with DHEC, so we really didn't see the need to further interact with county council because our zoning came from Rock Hill, and that's typically home rule and zoning is where the key involvement is. In the solid waste management plan, the 1994 plan is one they were working on. We were consistent with and fine with it. Just another important note: Rock Hill staff was tremendous. They did a lot of due diligence, and also, along with Councilman Roddy, they took a trip to Apex to see one of our facilities in operation. The facility that we chose already had manufacturing heavy zoning, which our type facility was permissible in. All it needed was a zoning board of appeal change. The city wanted us to go through a plan unit development, or PUD, because they wanted much more control. The fifth video, labeled Exhibit 1 of 2, shows the whole, well, not the whole, but shows 10 minutes of the process that the planning and city staff went through. Very professional, very extensive. We got our approval in May 2005. We made submittal to DHEC in August 2005 for our permit for the landfill component of operations, and that should have gone into draft permit by the end of the year of 2005. Now, as we all know, it didn't. But before we get into that, I wanted to show 90 seconds of the process.
About a landfill coming to someone's neighborhood, that's a negative, very negative connotation, and I had the very same feeling. And that's why I wanted to share the trip to Apex, North Carolina, and I did see the facility in operation. And there were no odors there. You know, it was a clean operation. There were some residents not very close by, but in that area, they were there. And my question was, and still is, how does this affect those neighbors that were living in that immediate vicinity? And we found no negatives there.
You're right, the connotation of landfill is negative, but this is something that's not like garbage landfill. This is just construction, demolition, debris. And I think, unfortunately, because people don't maybe see the difference, it does create more concern.
My name is Mike Gullett. I live at 228 West Rambo, which is adjacent to where my parents' property adjoins mine, which is adjacent to the site. And I have lived through the thermal chem fire. I have lived through the rotten cabbage smell of the clarion. And this seems like a whole lot better use of the property than what we've had in the past. And my family and the families in my little general neighborhood all tell me, they knew I was coming tonight, and they said that without the sludge, we don't have the huge concern.
You know, Mike Gullidge is a good example. That's one of the few concerned neighbors that really sit down with us and fully understand the process and realize that our facility is a lot better than what other facilities that could go there just based on the pure zoning of manufacturing heavy. Ironically, most of our opposition never sit down with us, or none of them never really sit down with us to fully understand our process. Phase 2. In December 2005 and January 2006, this phantom group named the Concerned Citizens of Rock Hill did a mass mailer of basically an inflammatory postcard with misinformation imploring the citizens to fight our facility, thus beginning this Phase 2. At that same time, the York County delegation, including Ralph Norman, asked DHEC to delay issuance of our permit until DHEC had 3 public hearings. That really put a further delay in the process. And then during 2006, I discovered that there was some DHEC correspondence confirming that Christy Cox was representing a competing landfill applicant, Buddy Clausen. The Herald also confirmed this during a interview of Mr. Clausen. This is all important to understand in just a second, but just further this point, in October of 2009, Representative Ralph Norman gave a speech to the County Council, and surprisingly, he admitted that he was involved with an outside group who wanted to do a competing landfill. So, you know, during that time, I didn't know it, but there were 2 competing landfills trying to get into the market with us, behind us. Representative Norman also admitted this to a former chairman of South Point High School Student Improvement Council, Jeffrey Nicholson. Jeffrey mentioned that to me, and this was during a 2006 meeting that he had with Mr. Norman. During a January 4th, 2008 meeting I had with Representative Norman, he informed me this outside group was led by C&D landfill operator Bruce Lovelace. He further stated that Bruce Lovelace was behind the false information distributed under the name of Concerned Citizens of Rock Hill. And why this is all important is that any competing landfill needed us to fail first before they could even apply for a landfill. That's just per a South Carolina regulation. So they needed us to go away before they could ever even get to the first base of their process of getting open. I'll just show a quick video.
I was involved with it 4 years ago when we signed the resolution. All the House and Senate members signed a resolution that Bessie Moody, I think, presented that she wanted to change the distance from where the landfill could be located. And I was involved in an outside group that wanted to do an alternative site because they didn't think this site was well suited.
And you can see I'm referencing, you can see the full video and much more information from Christy Cox imploring the County Council to stop Vernsdale. Just amazing the conflicts of interest that you can see in this. These competing interests delaying the process throughout 2006, while I was extremely busy in countless public hearings and also dealing with individuals answering questions. How many hundreds, if not thousands, of hours were spent during that time to try to defend the permit, why it was, why it should be issued, and why Rock Hill did the proper zoning and proper process. The good news is that we really prevailed during that time. Art Braswell, the permitting director at DHEC, said that they'll issue a permit in November, December 2006. And of course, Christy Cox and our opposition knew that as well. And several behind-the-scenes things were happening and continued to delay the process. I was given a commitment that the permit would be issued no later than January 4th, 2007. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. I got a call that day, and Art Braswell said that his boss got a call from Senator Wes Hayes and said, do not issue a permit until I'm fully apprised with what's going on. And of course, that further delayed it, and that's what really created Phase 3. Due to that delay, there was a January 8th County Council meeting, and a very extraordinary thing happened. They created an emergency ordinance to place a 60-day moratorium on the issue of landfill permits. So basically, they were trying to tell DHEC not to do their job, and that created a multitude of lawsuits involving Rock Hill, DHEC, Griffin Brothers, and January 22nd, 2007, Judge Hayes issued a temporary restraining order, a TRO, on the county. So everybody can kind of catch their breath and figure out what's going on. DHEC could not issue a permit, nor the county, during this temporary restraining order. On February 15th, Judge Hayes lifted the restraining order and thankfully made this key statement. He said, DHEC and DHEC alone can issue landfill permits. DHEC took that initiative and issued our permit on February 22nd, 2007. All that said, York County continued the fight, and in appealing on February 28th, they hired an attorney and elected to appeal our permit. Great video to watch. It's the 6th YouTube, and it's also labeled Exhibit 2 of 2. It shows all the chaos and confusion and fighting between councilmen related to all the things that were going on. They also made some huge changes to the solid waste management plan after our permit, which spawned additional litigation from a separate company called Green Eagle Inc. That's owned by Hall Rogers and Marty Taylor. I know them well, and I've actually loaned them some money to help fight their fight. But that's an ongoing process as well. Here's a small excerpt of some of the things that Councilman Chappell would do to keep the majority vote in support, and I call it fear without facts.
And now one of our beloved neighboring municipalities want to sit the largest landfill between Miami and Maine, right down there on the same spot.
Councilman Chappell's referring to Rock Hill as the beloved municipality, and he's referring Vernsdale, and he's saying that we're going to be the largest landfill between Miami and Maine. That's beyond false, but we're not even the largest landfill inside the county. There's two landfills currently inside York. The county-owned landfill is larger than ours. I think they can do close to 100,000 tons a year, whereas we're just going to be permitted to do less than 60,000 tons. You can pause this slide to review the facts, but the conclusion is York County has attempted to circumvent Rock Hill's wishes by appealing our permit, and 3 times we've been successful in having the permit affirmed, and we're now waiting on for them to decide whether they're going to take this to the state Supreme Court. Frustration aside, Griffin Brothers remains willing to sit down with the county officials to discuss settlement to end this long process. I've made that clear to the staff, as well as the most recent meeting I attended, I made it clear to the county council, and I hope that happens. Thank you for your time.